Matthew 24:20, but pray ye that your flight not be in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. So if the elect are to exit and their flight be indeed before winter, when is the first day of winter on God's calendar? Well, the first day of the 10th month on God's calendar is the first day of the winter season, and it matches on the Gregorian calendar with December 19th. So if the elect are to leave this year before the winter season, we need to leave before that time. Well, in this study, I plan to make a connection between two birthday important dates. And between these dates, the connection, the ending connection ends up being the last time that I think that we could look for being brought home before the winter season. So let's begin. And where should we begin? I feel that we begin at the anniversary date of the birthday of Yahushua. And this anniversary date falls on the Feast of Trumpets, which is the first day of the 7th month on God's calendar, and matched with September 19th of this last year. And another reason why I think that this could be a time when we should be looking at is because of Revelation 12:1, where it reads, "And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars." So if we look to the sky, now as I've already shared, there are always 12 stars in the head of Virgo, 2 of which are what are considered double stars, so they count twice. So we do see in the skies on September 19th that the sun was clothing Virgo. We know that there is always 12 stars in the head of Virgo, so that was there, but we do not see the moon at her feet. Now, interestingly, we see Venus at the feet of Virgo. Sister Sherry told us that the planet in the west that these scientists are calling Venus, which is not Venus, and everybody always says, oh, the white one, that's Venus. It would be 6 years later I found out it's not Venus, it's EP, Enoch's planet. And so it's interesting because the realization that Venus is EP gives us more insight to maybe what Revelation 12:1 is talking about when it mentions the moon. If we look at the usage of the moon in Greek word 4582, it is an alternate of G138, it says. So now let's look at G138, see what that says. And if we look at G138, it means to choose, to take for oneself, to prefer, choose, to choose by vote, elect to office. And it is from akin to G142, which means take up, take away, lift up, bear, to raise up. And where are we taken? It says in Enoch 2, chapter 61, verse 4, the elect shall begin to dwell with the elect. And they are taken to, quote, where the elect and righteous dwell, where my grandfather was taken up, the 7th from Adam, the first man whom the Lord of spirits created. And that's in chapter 60, 8 through 9. This place is what we've named Enoch's planet, EP. P. Now notice that Revelation 12:2 says, "And she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered." Notice that it doesn't say that she pained to deliver. It said she pained to be delivered. Now, who is Yahushua coming for? He's coming for a bride, a female. And as Isaiah 62:5 says, "For as a young man marrieth a virgin, so shall thy sons marry thee. And as the bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so shall thy God rejoice over thee." And in verses 11 through 12, we find out more so who I think this bride is. "Behold, the Lord has proclaimed to the end of the earth. Say to the daughter of Zion, Behold, your salvation comes. Behold, his reward is with him, and his recompense before him. And they shall be called the holy people, the redeemed of the Lord. And you shall be called sought out, a city not forgotten." So if we follow this out with the thought of the woman yearning to be delivered, and the man-child, Yahushua, coming for a bride, woman, when shall she be considered purified? Leviticus 12:5 tells us, "If she bear a maid child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks, as in her separation, and she shall continue in the blood of her purifying 66 days." So 66 days, and so 66 days in 2 weeks, 14 more days, equals a grand total of 80 days, meaning that on the 81st day, she would then be able to be presented. Either the daughter of Zion is the child, which would mean Zion is another name for EP, and Yahushua is involved in bringing the two together, or Yahushua is the child brought forth by the daughter of Zion. One of the meanings for man-child, G5207, is used to describe those who are born again and of angels. Remember, Sister Sherry always said, many of us are angels born in the flesh. So, continuing, and of Jesus Christ, Yahushua. Either way, day 81 could bring us together. And so day 81 from September 19th would bring us to December 8th. Now, December 8th matches with the 21st day of the 9th month on God's calendar. And this would match with the timing of when Gad the seer in chapter 7 of his book, verse 9, said, "At the end of 9 months and 20 days, which would be the 21st day of the 9th month, that David was given 3 choices as a penalty for his evil to number the people." Verse 13. Now, out of the 3 choices, David chose 3 days of the sword of the Lord, which is pestilence in the land, and the angel of the Lord destroying throughout the land of Israel. Verse 17. Now, we are told in verses 19 through 20 that the Lord sent a pestilence upon Israel from the morning even to the time appointed. And while this was happening, God sent an angel into Jerusalem to destroy it. And as he was destroying it, the Lord beheld, and he repented him of the evil and said to the angel that was destroying the people, "It is enough, now stay your hand." Now at that time, the angel of the Lord was standing by the threshing floor of Ornan, and Ornan was actually threshing wheat. at that time. And we are told in verses 34 through 36 that the Lord commanded the angel, and he put back his sword into the sheath thereof, and the plague was stayed from Israel. Now, what we can surmise by all this is that grain was still being handled from the field, not necessarily being brought from the field, but it was in the threshing floor of the storage house and was being threshed on the 21st day of the 9th month. This would match with December 8th. Now then, this would also be when the 3 days began, and it would go to the 24th day when Ornan was continuing the threshing, which matches with December 11th. Now, Sister Rhonda just recently brought to my attention what Sister Sherry had said in the past when she said to me that the day of the Lord begins while the crops are in the field waiting to be harvested, and to me always signifies the sixth seal. So I did look into this specifically and reported back to Rhonda, although I haven't heard a reply back yet. As Joel 1:16 through 17 says, "Is it not the meat, H400, food supply, cut off before our eyes, yea, joy and gladness from the house of our God? The seed is rotten under their clods. The garners, H214, which is the storehouses, are laid desolate. The barns are broken down, for the corn, H1715, wheat, cereal, grain, corn, is withered. H3001, become dry." Now, to me, this seems to be more of like a happening within the storehouses, the barns, and not the fields. Also, noticing that in verses 19 and 20 of Joel 1, it says, "The fire hath devoured the pastures of the wilderness, and the flame hath burned all the trees of the field." Notice it doesn't say the crops of the field. And then it says, "The beasts of the field cry also unto thee, for the rivers of waters are dried up, and the fire hath devoured the pastures of the wilderness." And that kind of sounds like pastures of the wilderness. That sounds like the grass that a lot of the beasts eat. The grass. And this reminds me of the pole flip events. Of course, Isaiah 24:20 tells us, "The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again." And so specifically, when Joel 1:19 and 20 tells us about the fires, I think back on Sister Sherry telling us about day 3 of the pole flip happenings, and her saying people will start fires, candles, oil lamps, earthquakes will cause fires to start everywhere, and they will run out of control. So what about 3 days and how that relates to now? Of course, we saw again in the book of Gad, 3 days of the sword was chosen by David. And I ponder whether the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of the 9th month could be the timing of when Hosea 6:1-3 says, "Come, let us return unto the Lord, for he hath torn, he will heal us. He hath smitten, and he will bind us up. After 2 days he will revive us. In the 3rd day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight. Then shall we know if we follow on to know the Lord. His going forth is prepared as the morning, and he shall come unto us as the rain, as the latter and the former rain unto the earth." Now, the 24th of the ninth month has implications to the past historically, pointing to the future, and a possible connection with Sister Sherry, Shaz, and Sister Rhonda. And the first thing we read in Haggai 2:10 is that on the 24th day of the ninth month, in the second year of Darius, the word of the Lord came to the prophet Haggai. In verses 18 and 19, we read, "Consider now from this day and upward, from the 24th day of the ninth month, even from the day that the foundation of the Lord's temple was laid, consider it. Is the seed in the barn? Yea, as yet the vine and the fig tree and the pomegranate and the olive tree hath not brought forth from this day, will I bless you." Verses 20 through 22 then say, "The word of the Lord came a second time to Haggai on the 24th day of the month. Speak to Zerubbabel, the governor of Judah, saying, I am about to shake the heavens and the earth, and to overthrow the kingdoms. I am about to destroy the strength of the kingdoms of the nations, overthrow the chariots and their riders. And the horses and the riders shall go down, every one by the sword of his brother." Where Haggai 2 says he's about to shake the heavens and the earth, it reminds me of 1 Enoch 58:1, 6 through 8. It reads, "I saw that the heaven of heavens shook, that it shook violently, and that the powers of the Most High and the angels, thousands of thousands and myriads of myriads, were agitated with great agitation. That day has been prepared for the elect as a day of covenant, and for sinners as a day of inquisition. And on that day were two monsters parted, a female monster named Leviathan, to dwell in the abysses of the ocean over the fountains of the waters, but the male is named Behemoth, who occupied with his breast a waste wilderness named Duiden, on the east of the garden where the elect and righteous dwell," which it sounds like would be EP. Now this is where I think it really gets even more interesting, where in verse 23 it says, "In that day, saith the Lord of hosts, will I take thee, O Zerubbabel, my servant, son of Shealtiel, saith the Lord, and I will make thee a signet, for I have chosen thee, saith the Lord of hosts." So if we start to break down this verse and look at the word usage, Zerubbabel, H2216, means sown in Babylon. It also means leader of the first group of returning exiles from Babylon. And the usage of the word son, H1121, means either male or female, and it means sons of God, for angels. And then the word Shealtiel means to ask of, inquire of, to be given on request. So if we look at this usage of these words all together, we're talking about ones that have been asked to be here, asked upon request to be here, that are angels, that have been sown in Babylon, and leaders of the exiles of Babylon. Aha. Yeah. Now, Sister Sherry has said, "The Lord showed me several years ago how this last days Babylon is America. I have also seen it in the Bible codes how America is indeed the prophesied last days Babylon. In the Bible codes, if you want to find America listed, you simply look for the term Babylon, because Babylon and America are synonymous. It's the same place." She also said, Yahuwah told me, I begged him to let me come down here for the last days, that I made a promise, an oath to him, that if he let me come down here, I would become one of Lucifer's biggest enemies. Now we also see the usage of the word signet, which can mean a sign, but it also means a seal. And so I really think the signet would then be the sign, the seal of the sixth seal. Revelation 6:12-14 tells us, and behold, when he opened the sixth seal, lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll, when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. The pole flip. Now, Sister Sherry told us that the pole flip would be a 7-day event, with their plan to arrive on the 8th day. Now, what would match with an 8-day event? Well, Hanukkah does. Hanukkah normally goes from the 25th day of the 9th month through the 1st day of the 10th month. 8 days. Now we read in Matthew 24:15-16, when we therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. So standing in the holy place. Of course, we know what holy is, and the place, this word G5117 means portion or space marked off. So the holy place, I think, sounds like the calendar guidelines that was given by Yahuwah's holy word to Enoch in what we call the Enochian calendar. And in 1 Maccabees 1:58, we read, now the 25th day of the month they did sacrifice upon the idol altar which was upon the altar of God. This was the abomination of desolation, and it was on the 25th day of the month. Now in 2 Maccabees 10:5-8, it tells us that the very same day it was cleansed again, even the 25th day of the same month, which is Kislev, they ordained also by a common statute and decree that every year these days should be kept by the whole nation of the Jews. Now, although it is said in 2 Maccabees 10:1 that the Lord guided Maccabeus and his company in recovering the temple and the city, in this whole section it says nothing about Father ordaining this whole celebration yearly for the Jews. Notice no mention of Yahuwah commanding them or ordaining this to be done at all. It's my belief that Yahuwah would have guided in ordaining the feast if he had wanted. And thankfully, I have continued to grow in my knowledge and understanding of things, and now I don't celebrate Hanukkah. And here's some truths about Hanukkah that Sister Rhonda has said. Hanukkah, which isn't even a real feast, by the way, laugh out loud. Also, but Hanukkah is not Dad's. It's theirs, a time when Talmudic Jews bring in their Messiah. And now I feel it is as a time the Talmudic Jews bring in their Messiah, which aligns with everything I've been talking about. Laugh out loud. And by Sister Rhonda saying that brings me back to the thought of the pole flip. Day 8, their plan is to arrive on the 8th day, the New Age event, with the arrival of the Ascended Masters as God, world teachers. That's what Sister Sherry told us. Now, although Sister Sherry didn't condemn Hanukkah, in her heart she seemed to know something was wrong with it. She said Hanukkah is not an appointed feast. It's one of their traditions. It's like an answer to Christmas. You don't even have to do Hanukkah. I mess it up every year because my heart's not in it. Folks, Father speaks to our hearts. Sister Sherry told us time and time again where he speaks to, and time again, as she said, he speaks to your heart. So listen to his voice in your heart. If this celebration was one of Yahuwah's and was to be celebrated, don't you think Sister Sherry's heart would have been in it fully? So again, making that connection between two birth dates. Yahushua's birth date of the first day of the 7th month, matching on the Gregorian calendar of September 19th, and Sister Sherry's birth date of December 11th, matching on God's calendar of the 24th day of the 9th month. And so in closing, Psalms 91:4 says, "He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler." 84 days are between the two dates of the birth dates. 84 in Hebrew gematria is feather, wing. Very appropriate.